Hey, one of the things that our team at Cimarron Global Solutions and our friends at Longwoods International, we really wanted to tackle as we dove into this resident sentiment towards sporting events national benchmark study is really get residents' perceptions on a number of things that we perceive as really hot topics in our industry. Bear in mind, we live and breathe it every day, but our residents don't necessarily. So we wanted to touch on some things that we're hearing about on the regular and see just exactly what residents thought about them. And one of those things is found in key insight number 6. It's a shift slightly away from types of sporting events and support for them and community benefit. And it's into facility development. Now, we know we're right in the middle of a huge facility development wave. Sidebar, these development trends that we're seeing are cyclical in nature. They come around every 20, 30 years like clockwork. Maybe an increase in the youth and amateur sport facility development, think multi-court, multi-diamond, multi-field. But in general, we see these follow a cycle of every 20 to 30 years. Now, the price tag's gone up on them, no doubt about it, but just know that this isn't anything new, right? This is what we expect to happen over time. We've written about that before and talked about it in our Stoll report on facilities. I'll link to that in the video below so you can get up to speed. But let's look specifically at key insight number 6 when it comes to public support or resident support for public funding of such facilities. And I got to be honest with you, when I saw the reports for the question asking about support for public funding of youth and amateur sporting facilities, I was shocked. It's over 3/4 of respondents. So 76% of people indicated a favorable view of public subsidy or public funding supporting youth and amateur sporting facility development. And when it comes down to it, it kind of makes sense, right? Like youth and amateur sporting facilities, those aren't for the college athletes, they're not for the pro athletes, they're for me and you. In theory, the local resident. And that could be why we saw such high favorability when it comes to that question. Well, switching over to professional sports facilities, we see that number, not surprisingly, reduced pretty significantly, but not overwhelmingly so. We see 53% of people indicate favorable support of public subsidy or public funding for professional sports developments. And that's interesting, right? Still over 50%. I mean, we hear about all the time new professional developments. In fact, just last week, the Commanders came out with their plan, and we know that there's multiple NFL stadiums, arenas, soccer stadiums, all these facilities that are in the works right now. 53% indicate favorability of or some level of support for publicly funding. Now, a couple of unique questions that we must ask, and it's hard to dive into on a national benchmark study, but it's unique for each market and each situation is one, how much money are we talking about and what level of support are people willing to publicly fund? Those are two very important questions that really need to be answered at the local level. As we indicated before, I mean, we're talking about at the professional level, these facilities are getting into the multi-billion-dollar realm to keep up with the arms race. So just because there's favorability in our responses doesn't necessarily mean that folks are supportive of fully funding publicly these types of facilities or to a certain dollar amount. So you got to be careful with the nuance behind that. But what's good to know for our industry is there is strong support for both facility development, public funding of facility development at the youth and amateur level, and even at the professional level. Again, context is key, like everything we say in research. Don't take this out of context. We'll see it if you do. But pay attention to the fact that right now there's a lot happening in the facilities arms race across all levels, and support is favorable. All right, I'm Dr. Jennifer Stoll from Cimarron Global Solutions. Thanks again to Longwoods International, to our presenting sponsor of this study, the good folks over at Miles Partnership. Of course, visit Frisco and Greater Orlando Sports Commission. Without all of you, this wouldn't be possible. We've got one more key insight to dive into, and we're going to do that next.